Commanders podcast. My name is George Carmi. I'm here with Matt Dery from the Locked On Lions podcast, talking week 2. Let's get it on. All right, welcome everybody to the Full Press Commanders podcast. I'm here with Matt Dery from the Locked On Lions podcast. How you doing today, sir?
What's happening, George? Good to see you, buddy.
Of course, man. Thank you for coming on. I know time is precious and things are, definitely kind of busy around here. So thank you for jumping on. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about the Lions and the Eagles. Sorry, the Lions and the Commanders for week 1. Sorry, wow, I'm totally tongue-tied. Lions and Commanders for week 2 after a thrilling Eagles-Lions matchup in week 1. So I'm happy to have you on here, Max. I want to talk to you about last week's game and talk to you about our upcoming game over here. So, the Lions, they're basically the kind of the talk of the NFL right now. They, they're kind of up and coming. They were on Hard Knocks this past summer, so we kind of got to see them there. What's the vibe over there in Detroit? How are they looking after week 1? How are you guys feeling?
Well, feeling a lot better before. The vibe was fire in this town, George. It was hyped up. 64,000 plus, a packed house, standing room only for Sunday, and the crowd was fantastic. Unfortunately, the performance wasn't. The Lions had their moments, again, similar to last year, but couldn't finish. 38-35 loss. It was a 3-point game late. Philly driving. Lions need to get off the field 3rd and 1. And Miles Sanders ran for 30 yards, and that was basically the game. So, and then a 3rd and 1 again later, where there was a quarterback sneak, but they were getting it. But again, that's kind of the story of a year ago. Close but no cigar. The roster's definitely better. They played better against Philly this time than a year ago. Last year it was 44-6 when Philly came into Ford Field on Halloween and just laid the smackdown. So the Lions, you could tell offensively were better. And there's some things that they still need to clean up. But run defense is a problem. Interior of that D-line and linebacker are a problem. But the offense put up 35, and you should win when you do that.
100%. Yeah, one of the most exciting games in the NFL last week. So speaking of the offense, what do you think the identity of the team is? I know they had a strong rushing attack with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. They definitely had a 1-2 punch there. Is that something that we're going to see week in and week out, or was that more of, say, game flow and game script from against the Eagles?
They've said that they want to push the ball downfield more.
Okay.
They drafted Jamison Williams in the first round late with their second first-round pick from the Rams and then traded up to get him, but he's not going to be ready until November. So he's the home run threat that they miss in a big way. So for now, well, yes, DJ Chark can run by some people, and same with Josh Reynolds. But I think they want to establish DeAndre Swift in this ground game. Like you said, the offensive line is really good. You got Pro Bowlers on that line with Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow. I think Penei Sewell will be one. Taylor Decker's always been a fringy Pro Bowler at left tackle. So they've got some guys up front that love to run block. At times, they manhandled Philadelphia. First series of the game, George, they came down the field and steamrolled them.
They did.
And did it with DeAndre Swift, did it with Jamal Williams. And then the next 3 series, it's Goff in the passing game exclusively. Like, wait, what? Made no sense. They still finished with 181 yards, and I think that's the biggest key to this game Sunday is I watched some of the Commanders game. They couldn't stop the Jags running the ball.
100%. I was going to bring that up.
So the Lions the game plan should be feeding number 32 all day.
Yeah. So touching on that, so I watched the game as well. I was doing some research before this podcast, and I watched Jared Goff. What's the sense of him over there in Detroit? He seemed to struggle, from my opinion, but I want to hear from your perspective. What do you think about him so far?
I thought he was okay. He has to be better. You're right. I mean, if this team's going to go to the next level, and last year they only won 3 games, they're talking about 8-9 wins around here with some. I don't believe that, but I'm thinking more 7. But if Jared Goff can be the Jared Goff of old with the Rams, taking the team to a Super Bowl. Ben Johnson, the new offensive coordinator, has worked a lot with Goff this summer about what plays worked in L.A. Let's put those plays in our playbook. And they've got a great relationship. And now he's got weapons. He's got, I mentioned Chark, a full year of Josh Reynolds. Amon-Ra St. Brown's in a second year. Tight end is good. The running back room is good. And the O-line's good. So there's no excuses. Last year, his receiving core was was terrible. And so
Mm-hmm.
now it's better,
Mm-hmm.
and he must perform. You're right. And I think Lion fans want to see games that go. They want to see Goff have a game like Wentz had last week for you guys,
Mm-hmm.
4 touchdowns and passer rating of 100. That's kind of what Lion fans would like to see from Jared Goff. Instead, they got an 80 passer rating, a couple of touchdowns, a bad pick six, and those turnovers will kill you.
Yeah, I totally agree there. So yeah, Jared Goff seems to have a lot of weapons over there. So I guess from what I took away from the game, I saw that DJ Shark got a lot of targets. I saw TJ Hawkinson getting some targets as well. Are they the primary weapons on the passing attack, or do you still think it goes to Sam Brown?
Yeah, Amon-Ra is still the main guy, in my opinion. A little quiet game. You look up and you say, oh, he had 8 catches and a touchdown, but
Mm-hmm.
not the kind of game he had in the second half of last year where he was dominant. He was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they got to utilize Swift out of the backfield in the
Mm.
passing game more. He's going to need more touches, I think, because he's that explosive.
He is.
But you're right. They've got a lot of interesting weapons. And now with Chark on the outside, I think that opens things up for St. Brown and Hawkinson in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to score points. We haven't even touched on the defense yet.
Yeah, we're gonna get
That
there in a second.
that's another issue in its own right.
Yeah, so we'll definitely touch on that. And I guess one more question on the offense before we pivot to defense. So Jared Goff, and maybe I'm sure you know more than me. From what I was looking at Spot Track, he potentially has an out at the end of this year with his contract. In theory, with maybe a $10 million cap hit, is that even on the table at all right now? Or are you guys looking to grow with Jared Goff moving forward?
There's a lot of theories in this town about the quarterback. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a believer that this team is definitely drafting one this year.
Mm-hmm.
People said this past year, oh, they're going to definitely draft a quarterback in the third, fourth, or fifth round, maybe even get a Matt Corral or a Malik Willis. They passed
Mm-hmm.
on all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
George,
They did.
they passed on all of them. They didn't even
Yeah.
draft anybody.
Yeah.
And this organization, whether it's Brad Holmes, the general manager now, Bob Quinn, his predecessor, heck, even Martin Mayhew, they didn't like drafting quarterbacks for some reason, not even developmental ones in the late round.
Yeah.
So to sit here and all of a sudden say it's a lock that Goff is not back next year if he has a bad year,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could make a guess that they have 2 first-round picks again this year that they would take a
Mm.
quarterback, but I think they really like Goff. I think Brad Holmes likes him from his Rams days.
Yeah.
They were together in L.A. I think Dan Campbell likes him, and I think yes, you're right. The cap hit goes way down, so they can get out from underneath that contract after this year, and it would not be cap suicide. But I still think he's going to be the guy for the next few years. He was voted a captain. I think they think he can play really well.
Okay, and I'm not mad at that at all. I think Jared Goff, I do respect him. I feel like he did kind of get a bum rap coming out of LA. That whole, being a California kid playing in LA, taking a team to the Super Bowl, winning record throughout his time in LA. Then being shipped to Detroit and just having a whole rebuild there. But I do think he has the capabilities of getting to that next level. So we'll kind of see how that plays out.
Yeah,
So we'll see. So let's kind of pivot to the defense real quick. So I think Washington, it's funny. I think Washington, Detroit kind of mirror each other in regard to there is some offensive weapons that could be explosive, but the defense is kind of raising some eyebrows right now. So let's talk about it. And from what I saw, from my perspective, I felt like the Lions did generate pressure. I feel like they were kind of attacking Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is, he's a slippery player, man. He was just running around all over the place, but we don't have that luxury here in DC. But what's your initial takeaway from the first game from the defense?
I mean, I liked the game plan. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. They were attacking. They were blitzing like crazy. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
defensive backs in the backfield. But you're right. They couldn't corral Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, Carson Wentz can move a little bit. He's not a
Mm-hmm.
terrible runner per se, but I think the Lions will get in and get to him a little bit. Aiden Hutchinson is a guy to watch, certainly because he was drafted number 2. He's a local
Mm-hmm.
guy. The crowd loves him. Did
Mm-hmm.
not play well in the first game. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's his first NFL game. RPO, Hurts. I knew it was not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he'll bounce back. My
Mm-hmm.
concern with this defense is, middle screens, Gibson on a delay up the middle. He's slippery. McKissick, those type of players always give this defense fits. I
Mm-hmm.
like Malcolm Rodriguez, a 6th-round pick, another
Rodrigo.
Hard Knocks
Yeah,
poster
legend.
boy.
Yeah,
He was
exactly.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic on the show, and he's been really good. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
Dan Campbell said this week he graded out very well in the coach's
Mm-hmm.
eyes and didn't have any missed assignments. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is the linebacking core next to him, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, some others,
Mm-hmm.
didn't play all that well. I think the
Mm-hmm.
safety play can be better, and I think the interior of the D line is really light right now. That's my concern.
Interesting. Okay. So for one, so I was watching some tape yesterday. So the Walker, the safety, I believe, I forget his first name. I
Yeah,
thought he had
Tracy
a great
Walker.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, is he one of the standout players for your team? And he left the game injured? Is he going to play this week, or what's going on there?
Actually, he was ejected. If you remember,
Oh, that's what happened.
he
Okay.
was the one that he went headfirst into Hurts,
Okay.
grazed him, didn't hit him hard, but it was a
Okay.
definite helmet to helmet and personal foul. And
Mm-hmm.
then the Eagles players went after him,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of swung at a guy, made contact with an official, and he got another flag and he got tossed.
Okay.
Very, very bad move.
Mm-hmm.
Uncaptain like. He's one of the
Mm-hmm.
captains on the defense, and
Mm-hmm.
he even admitted I can't do that.
Yeah.
Lost my cool, bad move. The organization loves him. They
Mm-hmm.
gave him a new contract this offseason. I look at Tracy Walker and say, and I do this all the time on my show, George, and I came up with this years ago. Is
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Walker a good player, or is he Lions good? Lions good is we pump up players in this town, but if they went somewhere else, would they be starters?
That's how it is
You
in
know,
Washington too.
we
To
had
be
a
honest with you, yeah.
we had a guy here years ago, Louis Delmas, that the fans just
I
thought
remember
was
him. Yeah, I remember him.
so
Yeah.
good, and I
Yeah.
looked at him and went, he's not good, but he's Lions good. Tracy Walker is right on the fringe. Is he Lions good, or is he good? Because the organization thinks he's really good. I don't see a guy that picks enough passes off. I
Mm-hmm.
see a guy that does rack up a lot of tackles, but I think they're down the field. And
Mm-hmm.
this Sunday, like you said, I want to see Tracy Walker excel. I want to see him blanket a tight end, take away a play, take away a pass over the middle and step in front and pick one off. This defense does not do that, and he needs to do that. And they gave him big money to do it. I mean, he's their best safety. I don't think there's any doubt, but
Mm-hmm.
I know he had a 13 tackle game, but I didn't walk away from the game going, man, Tracy Walker was great. I didn't do that.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Okay, interesting. So, is there like just general concern for the defense altogether? Because I mean, granted, they played Philadelphia. Philadelphia's pretty dynamic. They have Jalen Hurts. AJ Brown had a pretty big game. I believe you guys gave up 450 yards of total offense, but
Yeah.
maybe that might just be a Philadelphia thing. Are you guys concerned long term? And I guess what Washington's strength is our passing game. I'm curious about your secondary and how strong they are.
Well, this is the question this week. I think
Okay.
we're going to get more answers. It's one
Of
game
course.
from last week. It
Of
turned
course.
into the Jalen Hurts show. AJ Brown certainly hurt the
Mm-hmm.
Lions more against Oruwariye and Will Harris than Jeff Okuda, who I
Mm-hmm.
thought did a nice job on Devontae Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, you're right, with McLaurin and Samuel and those guys, how will the corners respond? I think they're
Mm-hmm.
going to do okay. I actually like that group.
Okay.
The question will be at safety and over the top, certainly,
Mm-hmm.
and getting pressure. And I think the Lions will. I think Hutchinson will get in there. Austin Bryant is a name to watch, number 2.
Okay.
He's had a really solid camp in preseason. And I like Charles Harris. So I think they're going to be better this week because they're just not dealing with Superman back there that gets away.
Yeah.
But again, we need to see it. Back-to-back home games, conference game. Washington's up, Lions are down. I think it'll even out. I think the Lions are going to win. I do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I think the narrative that I'm seeing around here is Detroit's won 4 of the last 5 games, which is surprising. I feel like Detroit's always kind of prickly in regard to for the last 5 games against Washington. So they definitely offer some sort of like prickly competition for us over here. So I saw that you guys are favored for 2.5 points for the first time in 24 games.
Yeah.
What's the reception in the fan base over there? Are they excited about this, or what are they thinking?
I mean, George, it's funny going on social media and seeing people, oh my God, we're favored for the first time and since 2020, favored for the first time, I think, over a winning team, a team with a
Yeah.
winning record, albeit it's Washington at 1-0.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
no offense, but
No,
you
that's
guys
fine.
aren't
Yeah,
winning
always.
that. You guys aren't
Yeah.
winning that division. I don't think. But a favorite for the first time with a team with a winning record since 2018. So it's weird territory. I do think some of this is hard knocks and hype. I also think that, like you said, I think Vegas is looking at this like, are the Commanders really going to go 2-0? And are the Lions, who people feel will be better, are they really going to be 0-2? So I think they're looking at it that way.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I think Detroit's kind of on the upswing. They obviously had Aiden Hutchinson and Jamison Williams in the first round. Can we kind of touch on them? I know Jamison Williams is injured. I just want to kind of hear like, is he rehabbing, how things are going on there, and if there's any other rookies that we should kind of keep an eye on for.
Well, with Williams right now, it's going to be November, I think. They're taking it really slow. He tore his ACL in the national championship game in January, and he had said when he got drafted, I want to be ready for training camp. And I think they're taking it so ultra slow and careful
As they should,
similar to
probably,
Chase
right?
Young a little bit, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
that I think that they want to just hold off. He's on the pup list. He'll miss the first four,
Mm-hmm.
but he's going to be special once he gets on the field.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the rookies remains to be seen. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think Hutchinson will be fine. Rodriguez already is a star in the eyes of the fans,
Mm-hmm.
and he's starting as a 6th round pick. The rest of the
Mm-hmm.
guys didn't really play. Josh
Mm-hmm.
Pascal, their 2nd round pick, is hurt. We have a thing here in Detroit, a 2nd round jinx. Tease Tabor, Jelani Tavai, Levi Onwuzurike, who is not playing.
Mm-hmm.
Pascal's hurt. It's almost like any of these guys, going back to Bob Quinn and even
We have
Martin
that in
Mayhew, get taken in the
too.
2nd
Same
round. They
thing.
don't work out. DeAndre Swift is a exception to the rule, and Darius Slay.
Yeah.
Other than that, go back and look at the last 10 2nd round picks. They have not worked out. Pascal's hurt. He would have played and would be a nice addition to that D line. But other than that, no, I think that Rodriguez and Hutchinson will be the rookies to watch.
Okay, cool. Last two questions. We can kind of start wrapping it up pretty soon. So Dan Campbell, we see him. He's kind of a polarizing figure around the league. He seems pretty, effusive. Seems like the team is rallying behind him. Are you a fan of Dan Campbell, and how's he perceived in the locker room and amongst the fan base?
Oh, the fans love him.
Okay.
I mean, am I a fan? Yeah, I like him. I think the jury's still out on if he can coach. He's
Mm-hmm.
aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic with the media. He is so just absolutely transparent. If a guy's hurt, he'll say he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
If he made a mistake, he'll say, I own this one. I messed this up.
Mm-hmm.
He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He cried last year at the Minnesota game when they lost on a 60-yard field goal. I mean, the guy is just real. And
Mm-hmm.
it's refreshing because the
Mm-hmm.
previous coach, Matt Patricia, was a complete blowhard.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the real guy, and the
Mm-hmm.
players love him. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
many guys re-signed here because of him. The question
Okay.
now is, can they win games? This
Gotcha.
past Sunday was a game from last year where they
Mm-hmm.
lost 13.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, close but no cigar. We were right there. We were gritty. We were grimy. When are they going to win those games? Is it this
Mm-hmm.
week? Because I don't think this is going to be a blowout on either side.
Nah, very
But
competitive
if,
game.
we're talking 24-20 and here comes Wentz with the ball, and he's got to go 80 yards, are the Lions going to get that stop and win? It's time to do it. And hopefully that happens this week.
I agree. That's definitely the differentiator between a good team and a bad team, right? I think Washington's kind of learning to win as well, and I think Detroit's kind of in that same level. They're a young team trying to win right there. I guess one more question. So you have a kind of an interesting staff. I saw Deuce Staley and Mark Brunell and kind of a lot of former veterans that are basically coaching the team. How's that going? Do you feel pretty confident with that? Or are they? It's just interesting seeing former players go back, and I just want to see. I'm just curious how that's being received.
It's being received very well. The coaching staff is popular. They were even more popular after Hard Knocks ended because Deuce Staley and Aaron Glenn were so good on the show.
100%.
But you're right, Antoine Randall L.,
Mm-hmm.
former Redskin,
Mm-hmm.
or commander or whatever I'm supposed to say. um, uh, um, um, uh, you know, Kelvin Pritchard, all these guys that they've got on their staff are all very good personalities, but they all did play,
Mm-hmm.
and that does help. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Hank Fraley, their O-line coach, was a 10-year veteran in the league. He's fantastic
Mm-hmm.
on the O-line. Aubrey Pleasant is highly respected as a
Mm-hmm.
DB's coach.
He is.
So
He
they've
is. I know
got
about
the
him.
guys there. The staff is good, and they're all back from a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good news. The question is, are they going to coach these guys up because the roster still has holes
Mm-hmm.
and get them over the top, get them to 8 wins, get them to really improve, be in
Mm-hmm.
that wild card chase. The NFC's weak. I mean, why couldn't 9 and 8 get you in? This town would go nuts for that. But yes, the staff is pretty good, and the key was that they kept. Aaron Glenn interviewed, Aubrey Pleasant interviewed for some DC jobs,
Mm-hmm.
Glenn interviewed for some head coaching jobs. Hank Fraley, teams try to get him away from Detroit, and he stayed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. If you're, obviously, if people are competitive and competing for your services, you're pretty good at what you do. So I like that there. I guess last question. So in regards to overall outlook, how do you guys feel like in the NFC North? Do you guys feel like you guys can compete for that division? Do you see 7 to 8 wins in your future? Like what's your overall perception of Detroit? Or is it still a work in progress?
I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Minnesota did to Green Bay this past week. That's going to be a tough game for the Lions next week in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold that the Vikings are some 11-win juggernaut, Green Bay, I still think, is the class of the division. I think the Lions are
Okay.
going to finish third. I think
Okay.
the expectation is to lap the Bears
Mm-hmm.
and to win some of these games with this soft schedule. Now, again, you looked up and said, okay, Washington can be beaten. The
Mm-hmm.
Giants,
Mm-hmm.
the Bears should be beaten twice. Jacksonville, Carolina. The Lions are playing a fourth place schedule. Last year
Mm-hmm.
was rough. The schedule was brutal because they had to play the AFC North and the
Mm.
NFC West, and all those teams are good.
Yeah, they are.
This year now it's NFC East and AFC East, so it's a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they'll end up ahead of the Bears, maybe 6, 7 wins, but I don't see them yet pushing Minnesota and Green Bay. I would view that maybe as a next year thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then before I ask for score predictions, do you have any questions for the Washington fan base at all? Or are you feeling pretty comfortable after your interview earlier?
Yeah, no, tell me, George, what do you think? Who do you think the Commanders win? Or could they do 2-0? It was a weird game. I looked up 1 minute and went, oh my God, Jacksonville's dominating, and the next minute, Wentz is dominating. It was a kind of a crazy game last week, wasn't
It
it?
was a crazy game. So I think Washington is definitely a work in progress. We saw the whole Carson Wentz experience last week, right? So we saw him come. We saw him come out. He threw 2 touchdowns on our first 2 opening drives. That's the first time Washington has done that in a week one since 1991. Like we
Wow.
always punt the ball. So for the first time, we actually had a pretty aggressive offense. I think the way to win and the way to kind of our formula for winning throughout the year is just a quick distribution from our quarterback, right? If we let Carson Wentz try to play hero ball and kind of run around and kind of, try to be that Patrick Mahomes that he wants to be, he's going to create turnovers, fumble, get sacked, and kind of have negative plays. But I think for the first time since 2016, since we had Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson, we actually have like a pretty impressive like skill set regarding Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, and Terry McLaurin. So, if Carson Wentz can do 3-step drops, hit those guys real quickly, and have them do yards after catch, that's going to be our winning formula. And what happened last week is Washington did that. They actually started off the game with this quick passing game. They got up pretty quickly, and then for some reason, they started pulling it back. They started to kind of like be conservative and run like a 4-minute offense. And that's where, we had some bad turnovers. The Jaguars got back in the game and started to fall behind a little bit. So
Who's the OC again?
it's a Scott Turner from North
That's
Turner's
right.
son. Yeah, so
Yeah.
actually, it's pretty cool. Actually, I like seeing his growth. It's year 3 for us with him. He had Alex Smith and he had Taylor Heineke in years past, and he's kind of had been limited with his quarterback opportunities. But now we have Carson Wentz, who physically he has all the tools to basically be a very a great quarterback, but at the same time, the whole mental aspect and the whole
Yeah.
getting caught in a negative loop. And yes, let me ask you that. So, from a national perspective, how do you feel about Carson Wentz? Do you feel like he, just honest perspective? I want to hear what you think.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I think what he
Okay.
did last year in Indianapolis,
Mm-hmm.
the unvaccination thing,
Yeah.
he was a lousy leader.
Yeah.
That's a really easy place to go. Play for Frank Reich, Chris Ballard. That's a good locker room. I'm surprised at how that was to me, that was his chance. You
Mm-hmm.
were taking over for Phillip Rivers. Could be an upgrade. Week 17, I know you guys have talked about this ad nauseum in DC.
Mm-hmm.
That was a awful performance against Jacksonville. And, obviously the owner said, get this guy out of here. Jim Irsay has said it publicly.
Yeah.
Jim Irsay is always positive about his players. Quentin
Yeah.
Nelson's the greatest this, and we love this guy. And former Colt players go back there. My son's a Colts fan, so I got intel. But
Gotcha.
all these Colts, the old guys, the Reggie Waynes, the Peyton Mannings, they all talk about Mr. Irsay, who's an interesting guy, but man,
Very
he
passionate.
just blasted Carson Wentz and
He
still does
whenever
time
he gets a chance. Whenever he gets a chance.
I'll be interested in watching this week. I'm excited to see what I'm intrigued. 'Cause
Yeah,
there
it's
is talent.
There's
But I just
there's
don't-
definitely talent. I think we definitely mirror each other in regard to that like the skill set players and our defense and things like that. With Carson, the narrative around here, what we're catching from like more of our beat guys, was that basically Carson Wentz, when he was in Indianapolis, had a lot of pressure because was following a pedigree of Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers. And then they had high expectations over in Indianapolis. With 27 touchdowns like he had last year, getting that around here in DC, that would be like breathtaking. We haven't had good quarterback play in years. Like the last time we've had a quarterback pass for 30 touchdowns was 1967 with Sonny Jurgensen. And it's like, if Carson
Legend.
Wentz does that, yeah, exactly. But if Carson Wentz does that, then it's totally eye opening. So we'll see that there. And then finally, he's one of the elder statesmen in the room. I don't know if you know that, but Washington's team roster is the 7th youngest in the league, and I believe he's one of the oldest people on the team. So he's definitely expressed that in interviews. Like, I have kids, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. He's like, I can't even hang out with these guys because they're basically, they're trying to go to the club and stuff. But he's just saying it's a funny dynamic because now he truly is a leader, which he wasn't one before. So it's interesting.
Nice. Well, I know you're going to ask me about the prediction. I think the Lions are going to win. I think that I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 23-20, 24-20, something like that. Lions are due to get a home win here and build a little bit about what, off of last week with their offense. I'm not sure Washington's a 2-0 team, so I'm going to take the Lions, small. I think it'll be tight.
It will be a nice nip and tuck kind of game right there. So thank you, Matt, for everything. I really appreciate it. Before we sign off, can you just kind of share with the fan base basically, where they can find you on social media, what projects you're working on or anything like that?
As you see on the screen, and George has great graphics, Dery Speaks on Twitter, Dery Speaks. We post a podcast there every day, Locked on Lions, lockedonlions.com, on YouTube. And I also do the Pistons official podcast on their website for the team and some other stuff. Once in a while I feel that on the Fan in Cleveland and stuff, but Locked on Lions is what I do daily. I've been doing it 7 years, and I love it. So we'll have a good previews all week and get people ready for the game.
Sounds good. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate your time. You've been a great guest, man. Take care.
All right, George. Thank you.
All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye.